Most GEO dashboards report a single visibility score. It moves up or down each week, and it usually isn't clear why it moved or what the team should do about it. In this video, I want to walk through how Gumshoe organizes that data around the 3 questions a marketing team actually needs answered. How do AI systems describe our brand? How does that compare to our competitors? And does the answer change depending on which buyer is asking? I'll use one example category throughout, then cover Gumshoe's refresh cadence and what to do with the results. The example is expense management software. It's mid-market B2B, it's crowded, and buyers there routinely ask ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Perplexity for recommendations before they request a demo. The numbers I use are illustrative rather than real client data. One point before we get to the panels. When a buyer asks an assistant which expense tool suits a 300-person company, the model doesn't return a ranked list of links. It writes a paragraph describing a handful of products, and your brand either appears in that paragraph or it doesn't. When it does appear, it carries descriptive language you didn't choose. That's why Gumshoe runs every conversation as a specific buyer persona across 11 models, rather than scraping outputs from an anonymous browser session. Anonymous scraping doesn't reflect how these systems talk to actual buyers. The first view is your own brand, and it starts with the Gumshoe Visibility Audit. The headline number is brand visibility. Across every prompt in the audit, the share of AI responses that mention you. Let's say our example brand, which I'll call Ledgerline, comes back at 34%. Gumshoe reports that against the full conversation count, so you can see how many prompts and how many conversations produced it. That matters because these models are stochastic. The same prompt returns different answers on different runs, and a small week-over-week move is often sampling variation rather than a real change. Gumshoe's sampling design is built around that, which is why the persona and model breakdowns carry change indicators rather than a bare number. The visibility audit tells you whether AI mentions you. It doesn't tell you what AI thinks. That's the Gumshoe sentiment audit, which runs monthly alongside the visibility audit, and uses prompt types the visibility audit never runs. Direct brand mention prompts that ask models point-blank what they think of your brand, and head-to-head prompts that put you against a named competitor. The themes view is the part most teams open first. Gumshoe sorts the recurring themes and what models say about your brand into pros, cons, and caveats. Each tag shows how many prompts raise that theme, and clicking it opens the actual conversations underneath. The pros might be easy setup and affordable pricing. The cons might be limited integrations. The caveats are usually where the damage is, with something like not built for enterprise scale. Read that as a positioning summary. These models have settled on Ledgerline as the low-cost option for small teams. If the company spent the last 18 months moving up market, shipping SSO, and closing 6-figure contracts, none of that has reached how AI describes the product. A single positive to negative score would have hidden this, because affordable and easy setup are positive attributes. Gumshoe also gives you the topic sentiment versus visibility view, which plots each topic by how positive models are toward you on the vertical axis, and how often they mention you on the horizontal. High visibility with low sentiment is the quadrant to look at first, because that's where models mention you and then hedge. The second view is competitive, and that's the Gumshoe brand leaderboard. Every Gumshoe report includes it. You see where you rank against competitors across all 11 models, tracking up to 30 competitors side by side, comparing mention frequency, recommendation rates, and sentiment. Ledgerline at 34%, the market leader at 71%, 2 other challengers at 40% and 29%. Underneath that, Gumshoe's model visibility view breaks the same data out by model, because the models don't agree. You'll see which ones mention you most, which ones favor a competitor, and how pre-trained variants differ from web search variants. If one model is dragging your average down, that's a different problem than a uniform gap. Then the topic and competitor heat maps show visibility by topic and competitor, so you can see which parts of the category you own and which ones belong to someone else. If integrations is where the leader wins across every topic row, that's a specific content brief rather than a general instruction to make more content. The third view is persona gaps, and this is what Gumshoe was built around. Gumshoe builds AI-inferred buyer personas for your report, with roles, goals, pain points, and decision-making context, then runs their real questions across the models. You can also create or import custom personas and topics. In our example, a startup founder, a mid-market controller, a CFO at a 2,000-person company, and an IT security reviewer. Ledgerline's aggregate was 34%. In the persona visibility view, the founder persona is at 52%, the controller at 38%, the enterprise CFO at 11%, and a security reviewer at 6%. The aggregate was averaging over a very large difference between segments. The sentiment audit splits the same way. Gumshoe's sentiment by persona and topic heat map scores sentiment from -1 to +1 for each persona and topic cell, and clicking a cell filters down to the questions behind it. For Ledgerline, founder cells are green, enterprise cells are red or empty. Two buyers ask functionally the same question and receive materially different descriptions of the same product. In this case, the competitor didn't win the enterprise comparison because Ledgerline was rarely in the answer at all. Gumshoe also runs buyer criteria analysis on top of this, so you can see which purchase decision factors each persona is weighing and how you score on them. On Cadence, Gumshoe splits this into two report types. The visibility audit is your full monthly audit across personas, topics, competitors, and models. The snapshot audit is a lighter check-in that runs between full audits, weekly on Starter and daily on Pro, so you catch a shift while you can still respond to it. Time series trends stack the runs, so you can see how model updates, content changes, and competitor moves affect visibility over time. Keep your personas and topics stable while a program is running, because changing the inputs breaks the comparability of the trend. So the reports tell you that Ledgerline is strong with founders, rarely mentioned to enterprise buyers, described as low cost and easy to use, and grouped with smaller vendors. Gumshoe frames the response as three levers. The first is technical readability. The Gumshoe technical audit scores each page for how readable it is to AI and flags where JSON LD, schema, structure, and metadata are holding you back. Then turns that into a prioritized checklist you can ship this week. The second is your content. The content audit evaluates existing pages against what models look for when forming answers, and the content generator takes the personas and topics where you're weakest and produces structured content aimed at those specific gaps rather than generic best practices. For Ledgerline, that means security documentation, compliance detail, and implementation timelines written for the CFO and the security reviewer. The third is third-party citations. Gumshoe's citation sources view shows which domains models actually cite in your category, and a citation audit fetches those pages to show the author, publisher, publication date, and brand mentions behind each one. If your enterprise capabilities only exist in a sales deck, they aren't available to the systems doing the describing. This is also where negative sentiment usually originates, in old reviews and outdated pricing complaints that remain well documented. Then rerun and remeasure, watching the persona cells and the theme mix rather than the aggregate number. And if you want this data in your own reporting, Gumshoe exports full CSV and JSON with a read API. That's the full picture: the visibility audit for whether you appear, the sentiment audit for how you're described, the brand leaderboard for how that compares, and persona reports for who is seeing what. Gumshoe is used by over 7,500 brands and agencies, with more than 170,000 personas analyzed. You can start a free trial at gumshoe.ai with no credit card, and the link is in the description.